你好，你好，你好，你好，你好. What's Stephanie? I'm sorry, I'm going into the phone. Hey there. I'm feeling very humbled right now. I just took my first HSK 1 practice test, and I'd like to share the information with you. Wah! Okay, so first, I should probably tell you how I did it. The test itself, in case you don't know, is 40 minutes. It's supposed to be 40 minutes, or at least it is when you take the actual test. I'm sitting on a yoga ball, so if I bounce around a bit, I do apologize, but this thing is so insanely comfy, and I've been sitting in a couch, on a couch. Collocations are important, or are they? Anyway, I've been sitting on a couch all day, geeking out, so I'm relieved to be sitting on a softer surface. Wow, totally irrelevant. If only I edited. Oh no. Alright, so the test is 40 minutes. It's 20 minutes listening and 20 minutes reading. Oh my god, the reading part is so easy. I've been focusing on reading, and they have the pinyin with the Hansa characters, so it's super easy. That part's super easy, but that part's at the end of the test. And I did it in order. So there's, let's see, a few different types of sections, and I may go over those, but let me tell you how many there are first. So there's 1, 2, 3, I took a lot of notes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sections. So 8 different kinds of questions, again split up between listening and reading. So let me show you my setup if I can. I'm going to go away and come back. So I used my computer, and on the left side here, oh, sorry, wrong finger, left side here, I have, actually, for most of the test, it was the test itself. Let me click on it here. So you can see it was the test itself with the pictures and the things you're supposed to do with them. That particular one, you were supposed to write check for yes it is, and an X if it's not. Like if it says it's running, or he's running, and it's somebody eating, you write an X. Pretty easy in theory, right? In the middle I have the audio. I should have had it playing on my phone now that I'm thinking about it, but I had it on here because that's where I had it saved. And on the right, what the heck do I have on the right? Oh, I have the test twice. Oh, I know why I did that, because I ended up, after I took the test, when I went back to correct it, they had the transcript. And so in the end, when I was doing the test, I had the audio and the test, and then I was making notes on my paper. After the test, to check everything, I had the transcripts, the audio, the test, and my paper. This is not strategically an easy thing to do without a desk. We're still setting up in the new apartment. Although, how pretty is this curtain, right? This is just the sheer curtain. Then there's a blackout curtain, which you can kind of see right there, which works really well with the intense sun that is in Shanghai, which we got some of today. It's mid-February, and we're having a bit of a hot spell. It was 17 degrees Celsius today, which is like 70 degrees, I think, isn't it? I don't know. Once I start thinking in Celsius, it's hard to go back to Fahrenheit. It was hot and it was beautiful. That's not the point at all, is it? Sorry. But it's part of where I am, which is part of the language that I'm studying. So, Boulogne. It was not cold today. It was not hot. It was just beautiful. Piaoliang, Piaoliang. Yeah, I can't do sentences yet. I'm working on it. Anyway, so the different kinds of questions, or the different sections. The reading's so easy. The second half I seriously did in no time at all. The whole test, let me give you summary information, because I made notes per section, and then I made notes at the end. Oh, you poor thing, you're watching this. All right, so 1 hour and 18 minutes is the time I took. I decided not to stick to the straight 40 minutes the first time around, because I needed to get used to the test itself, and then I'll stick closer to the test times the more I do the test. And the last 2 or 3 practice tests that I do before the test, I will stick heavily to the 40-minute time period because I actually need to do it quicker than 40 minutes because when I take the test, I'm going to be nervous as all heck, despite how prepared I am, because that's what you do during tests is you get nervous, and that interferes with your performance. So I need to do better than I'm going to do on the test in my practice so that I can make up for the nervousness. Just a test-taking strategy. I taught language test-taking for a while. It's so easy to teach. It's so much easier to teach it than to take the test. Let me just say that. I can be a cheerleader and I can give tips out the wazoo, and I was remembering my own tips that of course I stole from other people's websites and practice books and things like that. This is for teaching English and taking English language tests, but you know what? Language tests only vary so much. So being on the other side of it now and being a language test taker, some of those tips kept coming back to me, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's not 100% language skills, it's partially test taking skills, partially language test taking skills, and partially the language that I've been shoving into my head over the past year, the vocabulary and whatnot. And when I say whatnot, yes, I still use the radicals sometimes when I don't know the meaning of a word. I still dive into and try to decompose and try to contextualize it out. A lot of the stuff is multiple choice, so it did help me a little bit to do that in some circumstances, and in some of them it led me astray, but most of the time it seemed to help so far. But I'm not gonna rely on that long term because although I mean that's what meaning components are, right? But still, I don't want to rely on that. I want to know words. I want to know. What is the word for know? Rensha. I've got so much. Wow, it was really interesting because as frustrating as this was for the hour and 18 minutes that I was doing this, I feel like I got a lot more context from the vocabulary that I was studying because a lot of this stuff is in sentences. They kind of build up, now that I'm thinking about it, from words to sentences, which is good, and it gives you the opportunity to warm up before you dive into the full-on listening to conversations, which is insanely hard. Did I mention I have not been doing a lot of audio other than a single word, I love Pleco so much, but their single words are slowed down and not really great audio samples. So it was much, much better to hear the audio for the test and to hear what happens when you speak in actual full sentences and the blending that happens and all that kind of stuff that's natural. And I did notice, I wrote down that words that start with the J and words that start with an X, especially XIA, really messed me up. I kept confusing the two. So knowing that when I hear a word that I think is a J, and I can go, okay, so it's not that is not a word that I know in HSK1. So I can kind of switch it in my head and put an X or an XI, XIA on top of it, and then kind of roll it through the words I know and go, is that a word? It's a long route, but you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do until your ears are trained. And again, I haven't been focusing on listening, and it's kind of an accident that I'm doing HSK now. So I have to start training my ears. So that's one thing that I definitely noticed, is that those two particular sounds kept messing me up. So anyway, the different parts. Part 1 was listening, and again, it's like a picture of a person, and they'll say, hey, in Chinese, of course in Chinese is a Chinese language test, like he is talking, and if the picture is him talking, then you write a check. If it's not, you write an X. It's that simple. It is if you know the vocabulary. There is a vocabulary, kaisha. I still haven't looked it up yet. I haven't looked up everything. There's a lot of words I don't know so far, which is, I don't know why I don't know them. I thought I was getting through a large part of HSK1 vocabulary. Anyway, so I think that might be train, but I didn't think that was train. I don't know. Anyway, the vast majority of that was pretty easy. I got all of those right. The second section was where you have 3 different things. If you look at number 6 here, you have 3 different pictures, and they'll say a sentence, and whichever picture matches the one that they've said, that's the one that, and I love that number 6 Can you spot the difference between those three pictures? They actually said it is cold. I don't know if you saw the video where I was talking about, I haven't posted it yet. I have a video coming where I talk about the word lung for cold, lung for cold, and I'm probably going to post this before I post that video. Anyway. So it's really funny because that seems to be the word of the week that keeps coming up. It's winter, of course it's coming up, but it's coming up, you know, when you learn a word and then suddenly you hear the word everywhere, that word cold, lung is coming up everywhere right now. And it's coming up in that one. They actually said it is cold. I'm paraphrasing a bit. And so A was the answer for that one. So that's that section. I haven't done anything with time yet, and there was a sentence with time, so I've copied that over into, I think I wrote down 2 or 3 sentences that I wanted to specifically study. It's probably in the test booklet that I have somewhere around here, but I wanted to take a look at that because I haven't practiced time at all. I didn't tell you where I got this from. My apologies. I downloaded a complete test. It has the test, the practice test, the transcript, and the audio all in one packet. It was brilliant. It's from the Hanbon Confucius Institute headquarters. I literally went into Google and just searched until I found a complete package. The practice book that I got, it's been kind of challenging to download their audio. Their website's all in Chinese. And they have a CD in the book. And usually when there's a CD in the book, and I've bought stuff from that publishing house before in China, and I've pretty easily just clicked on the download button, which I know what that looks like now, and it just wasn't working with this one. They sent me screenshots of where I need to go to download it, but it's not working. So in the interim, I found a complete test, which I've been wanting to do anyway. So hopefully I can get, because there's 4 practice tests in the book, the actual physical book that I bought, which I'd much rather do it in a physical book. Even though the test is going to be on a computer, I can write all over the physical book more than I can in the way that I'm doing it here. So anyway, I'll put the link to where I got this, if I saved it, in the show notes below. So take a look at that. If you're curious on doing a practice test, if you're taking HSK1 anytime soon, or just want to know what you're getting into when you start studying for it, please take a look at that. I really am happy with this practice test. I feel like I've learned a lot, not just about the test, but I feel like I've learned a fair amount of language. I feel like it's given me some examples and some context that really helps cement some of the words that I was studying too much in isolation, that I feel like I have more context for now. So that's the first 2 types of listening. The third type of listening, and sorry, I'm looking down at my computer here. The third type of listening gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It gives you 6 pictures, like that, and then it gives you 6. Oh no, it just gives you blank. So you have to just listen and look at the pictures and match the words that have no visuals with the pictures. And is this the one I got totally wrong? This is the one I did the worst on. I got 3 out of 5 wrong on this. And I don't know if you can see my horrible notes here. I was trying to write down words and keywords, and because I've been focusing on reading and writing, mostly reading so much, I am still hanging meaning on words. I'm not very good at just listening to the language yet, and that's not my long-term goal, so I'm not really going to beat myself up about it, but it makes the listening part really hard. So taking this test might accidentally, it will improve that skill, inevitably. Remind me to tell you what my practice score was at the end. I hope I remember to tell you that. Anyway, that's the third type. The fourth type is where they literally they say like a few sentences about a situation, and then they ask a question. And then they have three answers, and you're supposed to check the answer that would make sense with that question. Again, difficult, but I did better on that one. I got 4 out of 5 correct. I felt like the key words in there were much easier to find than the ones with the pictures. I think because the words were in the answer, it was easier for me to do it. When it was just audio, that's when I just failed. 3 out of 5 is failing, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's multiple choice. I mean, that's a lot of bad guessing. The next section, oh, then, and that's it for the listening? That's it for the listening. So there's 20 questions with listening, 20 questions with reading. And the next one is they just have a picture. And this one I found really tricky. They have a picture. Next to the picture, they have the Hansa and the Pinyin. And you're supposed to write a check if all three of those match, and an X if there's any one of them that doesn't match. Now, I thought the Pinyin and the Hansa were going to automatically match, but with T, and I don't think you're going to see it too well here, but with T there, they actually have Sai, which is grass, when it should say in the Pinyin, it should say Cha. So all three of those things should match. So, whoa, tricky, tricky. They have the Pinyin, but the Pinyin is one of the things that can trip you up. HSK, you are tricky. Anyway, so it made me really think on some of the writing, because some of them I can recognize, but not necessarily. If there's one tiny stroke difference, I might get it wrong. So, ooh, yikes. I might have to practice in reverse from meaning to writing. Ugh. Which I don't really want to do, but we'll see. The next one, they give you 6 pictures, and then you have to guess from the sentence. See, the pictures are at the top. I'm only showing you 2, and then they're the sentences, and you have to match the situations. So easy, so incredibly easy. I didn't even really translate a lot into English when I was doing this in my head. I read it out loud to myself. I read it out loud. Well, nobody else is in this room, but anyway, I read it out loud. And then I looked at the picture. I was like, oh, it must be this situation. And then I looked at the picture. That is the advantage of it being on a computer for the practice test, is I looked just at the Hansa sentence, the sentence in Hansa characters. And yes, I looked at the Pinyin because it's there. And then I thought of the situation, then went up to the pictures. So I wasn't looking at the pictures and the sentences on the same page. I did enlarge it, and I don't know if that's possible during the test, because with my eyesight's not the best, as you can tell from my glasses. I only wear reading glasses, but with the Hansa characters, I do find that they're written so small sometimes that even with reading glasses, I need some help. So I like Control Plus to make things bigger, but I don't know if I can do that on the test. I guess that's something. See, this is one of the reasons I'm taking HSK1, even though I could probably go up and take HSK2 like next month, because I need to get comfortable with how the test is done, not just the content itself. All right, so the next section, they had, oh, my arms are getting tired. They had part of the information on the left, part of the information on the right, and you're supposed to match them. That is such a typical language matching exercise. I don't even feel like I really need to do that. Are they all questions? Yeah, they're all questions. So there's questions on the left, answers on the right. It was disgustingly easy. I think I finished that one. I actually timed how long I did each. Hold on one second. 31. I started that section, 5 questions. I started at 6:48. I finished at 6:53, so 5 minutes for 5 questions. So that was really easy. The last section, they had 5 words or phrases at the top, and then 5 sentences, and you were supposed to match. So it was a kind of a clothes activity. CLOZE, not clothes like the things you wear, not yife, yifu. Okay, so you're supposed to put one of the words from the top down there. Again, very easy. Super easy. So the reason why I like this one, this practice test, is because they had the answers right after the test. They had the audio, they had the transcript, so I went back and listened to the entire thing. Once I marked the ones I had wrong, especially in the section that I sucked the most at, I was able to see why, and I was able to pick out some words that might help me the next few times around, or especially verbs. I really learned sei as to be at a place, and sei is one of those words that can also mean is, or to be, or whatever you want there. So yeah, sei, and I think it has more meanings than even just that. So I pigeonholed sei quite a bit. I'm sorry, sei, I pigeonholed you. And I need to let go of that. It seems to wear more hats than I thought. So wait, what were the rest of my notes? I need to tell you, sorry, I don't have a desk. I'm putting all this on a coffee table right here, which is a low coffee table. What were my notes? Some questions that I have about the test. Okay, can I rewind the audio? Is it just one long streaming audio, or do they have the audio playing at different times? Do I get to play it and stop it and rewind, or do I just hear it twice, which is what I think is probably going to happen? Does it just play the whole way through, or do I get to manipulate it in any way, shape, or form? And I am going to look for the answers to these, but if you know and you can save me that time, please leave it in the comment section. Are these types of questions in the same order in every test? I don't really care as much about that question. It's just a question that popped up. Again, can I enlarge the text as I'm going so I can see the characters more? Because sometimes if there's an extra stroke, that can make all the difference in what that character actually is in that word. I also realized that since the instructions are in Chinese, for my own comfort level, I want to practice not necessarily producing, but understanding the instructions a little bit more, just so that the sound of that at the beginning of the test doesn't throw me off and make me feel like a failure before I even get to the first question. So I'm going to work on that. Also, the numbers I did okay with, like number 1, number 2, number 3, but when we got into the teens and 20s, I don't generally use those numbers very much. In stores in Shanghai, to be quite honest with you, there's usually a screen where you see the number, and I'll catch the beginning of it, like Ursa blah blah blah, and then I'll kind of zone out. I'm an awful language learner, so I feel like I need to practice, especially the teens, the numbers in the teens, so I make sure I'm on the right number, because that is just a silly mistake that could really mess me up. I want to practice the instructions, I want to practice the number. What's my other test? My other question. Can I write on scrap paper during the test? Do you see how much paper writing, like notes and keywords and trying to figure out things on paper? I think on paper. I produce in other forms. I type very fast, and I can think and type at the same speed, which is really, really a luxury. But I really plan and analyze on paper. Can I do that during the test? Will I have any scrap paper in front of me? I don't want to take it with me. I just want to be able to write on it during the test so I can kind of think and jot things down as I'm listening, especially if it's what I think, where they just play the audio the whole way through and then you have to keep up with the pace. I really definitely want to write down keywords then, because sometimes a word doesn't necessarily hit you the first time you hear it, especially when it's in its blended form. So the speed of the language is going to throw me off if I can't take notes. And I think I had an aha moment during the test where I think niga and naga are this and that. I hadn't put that all quite together, but they had two sentences near each other where they were using both, and I went, oh, of course it is. Of course it is. And I'd kind of gotten hints of that before. I knew what niga meant, but naga I hadn't seen very much, and having seen it next to each other, it just dawned on me that that's probably this and that. I don't know. Just that's my little light bulb moment, and then I have my notes here. I cannot draw to save my life. Thank goodness I'm not an artist. Thank goodness. All right, so I think that's all my notes. My score for the practice test, despite the fact that I took far longer time than I should have. Was it twice the amount of time? Let's see, 40 minutes would be 80 minutes. 80 minutes is an hour and 20 minutes, right? I'm not doing math well right now. 40, 60, oh yeah, an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, I did an hour and 18 minutes, so I only did twice the amount of time that you're allotted. Just under twice the amount. But I get an 87.5%. That is infinite. Again, I'm on Yoga Ball. That is infinitely better than I thought it was going to be, especially with the feeling of pain, mental pain from doing this for the first time without doing a lot of audio practice beforehand. So yeah, I'm really wishing I had those physical flashcards that had an audio component to them, because I'd love to get these sentences onto there, but I think I may have to just write them and keep doing practice tests for the audio. And I'm sure now that I'm hearing them in their blended form, I'll probably hear them outside in the real world too. Because a lot of the sentences in HSK1 are functional sentences, daily life